You are live. Look at that. Good morning. And we have with us Jeff Reynolds.
Good
Yay,
morning. Good morning,
Mr.
Lisa. Good
Jeff.
morning, everyone.
Good morning. Oh, you know what? I didn't turn the banner on the bottom. Let me do that. Yay. See, look at that. It shows where the replays are. I love,
Very
love.
nice.
Yes, StreamYard. So, you know what I wanted to talk about first? Do you remember? I'm not even sure when I met you to start with. You're a corporate person, and I call them all corporate people, right? But I don't know if you know this, but you're like one of the few that I would keep in touch with. And the reason is because you treated me more like a colleague. The others don't do that. And it's not just the company that we were both with, it's in general. For some reason, independent contractors, I don't know, I really dislike getting treated like a housewife. I feel like they're patting my head. Oh, good girl. I hate that. And you didn't do that. You treated me like a colleague. So,
Well, and I think that's very important, Lisa, to touch upon for everybody listening, because one of the things that I think helped me is while I was in corporate for quite a few years, I also was a field person and an entrepreneur for the first 15 years
oh,
of
I
my
didn't know
direct.
that.
Yes,
Oh, I
for my
didn't know
first
that.
15 years of my direct selling career, I was an independent
You were with
contractor.
the Burp and Bowl Company,
I
right?
was, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Nice.
My
Oh,
wife
that's
and I
right. I
did
looked
that.
it up on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, my
Sorry,
wife and I did that for 15 years. So
wow. That's it. And so you were a representative. You weren't in corporate there.
I was not in corporate there.
Oh,
We were independent, drove the company cars, all the fun perks and
so
great
maybe
things.
that's what all of the corporate people should do because right. Did you think that was true, or is that like a chip that I have on my shoulder when I go to corporate things? Or someone talks to me from corporate, they tend to act like there's a pecking order and I'm at the bottom of it, no matter how well I do. It just
I
feels that
think
way. Or is that me?
no, I think what I think you've hit an important point, like nail on the head, so to speak, is because and the company that we were with when I was head of training, one of the things we required of someone that we pulled in from the outside to be in a corporate position was, even though it wasn't long enough, part of their onboarding and training was they were required, literally, to be an independent representative for 6 weeks
Okay.
and take orders, place orders,
Hmm.
handle customer service, do all that, so they at least had a little bit of an understanding of what an entrepreneur is going to go through that they're going to work with, in corporate. So that was one of the things we did to make sure there was at least a little bit of taste. But like I said, for me, my wife and I did it for 15 years prior to going to the corporate side. And even then, I will just say, I thought it was very important to always remember both hats. There was literally times I would be sitting in a corporate meeting and have that corporate hat on, and I go, wait a minute, I need to change my hat for a minute. How would I have felt about this, on that other side? So
Yeah.
it's really about mindset, and you and I talked a little bit about that and how important mindset is. So one of the things, and I'll say this jokingly because it really was, but it was very true. When I first went into corporate New York for the company that you and I worked with, I would say to my staff, like in the beginning, I'd say, well, listen, I was a field person for many years. So I would sit sometimes in the field and say, okay, what person, that wasn't the word I normally use, what person sat behind a desk in New York and thought this up? And so I said, here's the thing I want us all to remember. We're now those people that are sitting behind the
Yeah.
desk. So, but anyway, mindset is very important in this business. And one of the things I'll ask everyone is kind of that's listening today is I kind of refer to them as the backwards ABCs of discovery. So with we're going to talk about today, think about ABCs backwards. First is clear your mind. So right now, whatever you're doing, focus on what you came here for today and clear your mind. The B is be open to what you're about to hear, because there's going to be some nuggets. You all know Lisa has nuggets that are dropped all the time. And A is act upon it now. So take those nuggets that you're going to hear today, jot them down, and act, because that's what's going to make you successful.
As a leader, I try to tell my people too, is that sometimes we sit around and say, what the hell were they thinking, right? Sorry, we swear once in a while here. But we have to think this is like a tapestry, and we're only seeing the front side. We're not seeing, like, we don't know how much something costs. We don't know the production of whether they can get it or not. We don't know all of those details. All we know is the profit margin when we sell it. So we do have to be mindful of that. You know what I mean? I think
a great point.
Right.
It's on both sides.
It's on both sides. Right.
Great point.
Right. Yeah. But that's do you remember? I don't remember when I first met you. I don't.
I would say probably was about 2001 is probably what I would think would be.
Meeting in New York, right?
Yeah. And actually, I believe you and I first met when you were doing the road show, and I was still a division manager.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably.
You were coming into the Pennsylvania area and did our division and all that. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you mean my road show.
Your road show.
Yes.
The Lisa road show. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember, this was a million years ago. They had a region person, Marie, and it was funny because she wanted to, that's when I first started doing those. She wanted me to do it. She said, I want you to do 12 speaking things in 13 days and everything for $500. And I'm like, oh, no. And she said, people would be, what'd she say, honored to do that. And I said, oh, I'm sure. I said, if you ask enough people, you probably get somebody to do it for free. It's just not going to be me. Yeah, because that's it. She said, we're going to pay you a plane ticket. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't need the plane ticket if you weren't working me that hard. Yeah, that was a little much. But then when I started doing myself, I was just as bad on myself. I'd be driving that truck all over.
But it's different. It's different because that's because you had the mindset of an entrepreneur, which is important, because you knew what you get put into your business is what you were going to get out. And sometimes I think particularly in this business, people have a hard time making that shift from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. And once someone makes that shift, it really, the sky's the limit. And it's really about becoming a master connector with people. And, it's kind of, I think one of the things you and I connected about in the beginning was just how important it is to have connections with people and connect with people. And, we're all here to help each other.
Hey, you know what I find hard, and I don't know if you have some insight for this, but some of the veterans that are in this business, I mean, I'm almost 40 years into this one company, and some of the veterans that have been in 25, 35 years still aren't making their own world turn. They're like dependent on the company employee coaching them or something. I find that hard to understand, because now I wave them off because I want to have some resources, but I don't feel like I should be using company resources at 35 years in. So how do you feel about that? Is it me that's off, or should people be running their own world?
I totally agree, because what happens is, especially as a new entrepreneur, when you come in, you want to be a sponge and you want to get everything you possibly can from whatever company it is you're working with. And, we know in today's world, many people are working with multiple companies. So you want to be a sponge and learn all you can. But what I've always felt and said was, take what you hear and then figure out what fits you and your style and your personality. Because bottom line is people connect with you as a person. It's not all the other stuff. It's really you as a person. And then the other stuff is really what makes it beneficial, if you will. But that connection is always about you. You can connect, and by you, I mean every individual that's listening today. You can connect with people that someone else won't be able to. And that's the beauty of this business, because we all connect with different people. We all connect with some of the same, but we're all going to connect with some people that are different. So as you are learning that, and Lisa, that's what I observed and saw you did over the years as you became more and more and more successful, is you would listen and say, that works for me, that doesn't, but you incorporated what worked. And you would always throw your own spin on it, which made it uniquely you, which is what's important to this business.
Yeah, I think so too. I guess I hope people will take more initiative, making it their own, or learning on their own, not just rely on the company bubble. You know what I mean?
And that does come from that whole mindset thing of people are used to going into work and saying, okay, here's what I'm told I need to do today. Here's what I need to accomplish. And as an entrepreneur, what you want to do is, when you go to bed at night, you want to think of what am I going to do tomorrow that is going to help someone else? Who can I help tomorrow? And what am I going to do that's going to help me grow my business and make me more sustainable? So it's really about asking yourself those questions rather than looking for direction. There's always someone to help. As you know, I know, Lisa, you've always been a wonderful worker with your organization. So obviously when someone reaches up to you and says, hey, here's what I'm thinking that's going to help me get to X, Y, and Z. Do you think that sounds right? You're obviously always there to give them feedback and say, yes, or have you thought of? Which goes into being a good coach, which is, one of the things we wanted to make sure we talked about today. And the importance of coaching. And I think when you think of coaching, people, again, with mindset is two different things. So normally when someone thinks of a coach, they think of a sports team coach, right? And out there drilling and saying, no, do this, run, blah, blah. And that's not what coaching in our world is. Not to take anything away from those coaches, because they do great things for our kids. And I really admire those coaches. But at the same time, in our entrepreneurial world and being a success, a coach is a little bit different position. It's about listening to people. It's about asking questions to get to understand what they need and what they want and what will help them. And I always said it's about, have you asked enough questions to get someone to self-discovery yet?
It's trying to get them to solve their own problems.
Exactly.
Right?
We're all fixers, we're fixers. We want to speed it up and go, okay, I know how to fix that. Here, Lisa, just do this. Well, that's a short-term fix, because Lisa will go do that, but then after that, what's next? So then you're still waiting for the direction. But when you ask questions, you can help them get to their own self-discovery.
It's funny. I learned that as a wee child, when I was a wee child a few years ago. My grandma, believe it or not, when I was learning how to spell, she babysat me, and I'd say, Grammy, how do you spell probable? And she'd say, I don't know. How do you spell probable? She never would tell me. And I don't know if it's because she didn't know, or she would make me figure it out. So she never told me the answers to stuff. So that's always been true with this, because I knew they'd say, what is the ingredient in this makeup or whatever? And I'd say, let's call customer service. Here's the number. Let's call the product information hotline. Here's the number. And when you find out, you call and tell me so that I'll know too. because I may have known the answer, but I didn't think that was going to be effective, because then they just call me next week and want another, right? And if you have a giant organization, or you want a giant organization, I don't think you can do that. You have to teach people how to solve their own problem, or you'll be inundated. You just won't be able to handle a big giant group, I think.
Absolutely. And, Lisa, that goes back to something we heard for many years, right? And that's, if you give a person a fish, you feed them for the meal. If you teach them to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. And that's what you do as a coach. You teach people how to fish and how to do what's going to benefit them and their business and their customers. So definitely spot on.
In network marketing, we all need to be coaches.
Exactly.
Instead of problem solvers. Yeah, who teaches that too is the Direct Selling Women's Alliance, or what are they now? Direct Selling World. They don't say women.
Yeah, Direct Selling World Alliance.
World. Yeah, we're not being gender specific. By the way, I can see you. Some of you guys that are saying something, I can see you. I see Kimberly and Cynthia and Linda this morning. We got people from all over Virginia, from Albuquerque and Pennsylvania. So far,
wow.
if you, yeah, we usually have a big crowd here. If you have not given StreamYard permission, I don't see your name though. So some of you need to go do that, StreamYard.com/Facebook, and then give permission so I can see your name. But yes, indeed, the meetings in New York, I quit volunteering for that because I didn't realize. I wish they just told me up front. They weren't necessarily really about wanting our input as far as making a decision. Normally, the decision was already made, and they were trying to get our reaction so they could decide how to counter if it was a bad reaction. And see, we thought as representatives that we were having some input before the decision was made. So I quit wanting to. Because I'm like, this is the definition of a dog and pony show.
Well, unfortunately, there are companies that is the way it is handled. I can tell you that when you and I worked together on one of those teams, it was not that way. We would.
Oh, okay.
We would go in
now. I think they're all doing it.
we would go in with some ideas of, here's what we're thinking. Let's see what they think, how this will work, because we always tried to say to ourselves, what we think we know, we don't always know. Back to our earlier conversation, we know our end of it, but let's, also hear the other side of it. So there was times we went into some of those meetings of things we was hoping we were going to do, but afterwards, and we would have a meeting afterwards and say, no, that it's not going to do what, it's not going to fit as well as we thought. So,
it's funny. Once that happens and I find out that's what happened once, I get jaded quick, I guess. I think, because now another company I rep for, because I rep for a few, they saw I was doing good and asked me to come to corporate, and I'm like, no, I don't even, the CEO wants to talk to you. I'm like, no, I don't even want, no, just forget I'm out here. Just let me do my thing and send me my check. And I don't want, right. I'm no longer honored. I really just want to get paid. So I guess I'm jaded now, but back then, though, I was pretty honored for the whole thing.
Yeah. And like I said, I can't speak for when I wasn't there, but I can speak for when I was there. And, we definitely went into, now, as you know, there's always some things that we would say to you guys, this is happening. We have no choice.
Right.
What's our best way to do this? So, there was always those things, but there was also things that we would say, let's talk about it.
Even no matter what, I'm grateful for the whole thing, though, because I'm a bumpkin from the sticks here. I never would have had some of those experiences and opportunities. It just is so comical looking back. At the time, it was like this one time we were at that fancy steakhouse near the Hilton. Do you know which one I'm talking about? They always took us there. This fancy steakhouse. So all the other big seniors, they were senior executives back then, were all standing around, and I get hugely intimidated by all these people, by the way, and all the corporate people, and they're all drinking, and I didn't really drink very much. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to drink. And I go up there because they all look like they're drinking. And so I said to the bar guy, of course, I'm thinking the only drink I even know how to order would be something from high school. So I'm like, yeah, I want a 7 and 7, right? So the barkeep says, "Oh, thank God, somebody's finally ordered some real liquor." And he said it real loud. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Evidently, they all had, I don't know, ginger ale in their cup with water. I was like, wow, yeah, that was real helpful. But yeah, no, I don't know. I always felt like a hayseed. Now it doesn't bother me. I think that's like a badge of honor. So, when I go to something now and I'm the hayseed, it's like, fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind that now, but
You
at
be
the
you.
beginning,
And that's
right.
the important thing. You be you, because you is what's going to make you successful and what's going to make you appeal to other
But
people.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the beginning.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, on trips, I went to see if those people were the first trip I went on that I earned. I wanted to see what the other people were like because I was afraid they were smarter, taller, thinner, blonder. I just was sure that they were fabulous compared to me. And then I found out they were about the same thing. And that made me know I could earn them.
Yeah. Everybody's human. That's the thing. Gonna risk showing my age here, but growing up, I know we heard a lot. We all put our pants on the same, one leg at a time, and that's the thing. So I think it's important for someone, especially new people, like you said, to not be intimidated by others. Really, just be. It's okay to be in awe and learn and listen, but don't be intimidated. I mean, we're all just people, and we're all here to help each other.
Now, why weren't you there to tell me that? Hey, you didn't.
There's another old adage that the teacher will arrive when the student is ready. So,
okay, right.
You gotta listen to me back then, Lisa. I don't know. We didn't have the relationship that we have now. So,
oh yeah, I was bad.
I think of my years, and particularly back of my years when I was an independent contractor, and I had someone that was a very great mentor in my life, and she shared a story that I think is wonderful for every new entrepreneur, actually every entrepreneur to hear, and that's about what we do in this business, because there's people out there, we've all heard the stories about fear of rejection, people afraid of hearing no, all those things, and this one really clicked for me, and now I'm talking like 40 years later, that's still top of my mind. And she said, think about what you do as you hold the keys to a door of opportunity. You're going to run into 3 different types of people on a daily basis. There's type A. They're going to walk up to the door of opportunity that you've introduced them to, open the door, look inside, love what they see, and run right through. And they're going to be very successful. Be aware, those people are few and far between.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, those are very minute percentage. There's another group that are going to open up the door, look inside, tiptoe in a little bit, look around, take their time, go at their own pace. Eventually, they will get to where they wanted to go, and they'll still reap the rewards of this business. That's probably a bigger percentage of that. If you take out that first percentage, the rest of the percentage, I think, is split between group B and group C. They're going to open up the door, look inside, slam the door shut, and run the other direction. And there's a lot of those people out there. Remember, our job as an entrepreneur is to get people to open the door. It's not to talk people into anything. It's not to, it's to get people to open the door. 'Cause-
Well, you know what I didn't understand too about Group B, or actually probably any of the people, is that um, they all don't want to go to the top necessarily. Some people are just
exactly.
happy having the camaraderie and they don't necessarily aren't money driven. And as someone who's extremely money driven, it's hard for me to understand. And I've had to come to that because I'm actually, I think, in the minority more than I wanted to think. I thought everybody wanted to be a senior executive or whatever the top of the heap is, and that's not true. They don't want it even.
Right.
I
And
didn't know
it
that.
doesn't make what you wanted wrong. You know what I mean? And it doesn't make
Mhm.
what they want right. It's
Right.
about the individual. And
Right.
you know, I
Yeah.
don't know if you remember, but we had at the company we worked together at, we had a period of time where we had a little set of cards that came in. Do you remember? And we would
Um,
say, when you're sitting down with someone new, and just explain the benefits of this
oh,
business.
yeah. Yes,
And
I
it was
remember
like,
that.
some people want
Yeah.
recognition. Some people,
Yeah.
there was like a group of 12, and we would say, now, of these things we just talked about this business, tell me, Lisa, what 2 or 3 appeal to you the most?
Yeah. I
And,
remember that.
and that was what really helped me as an entrepreneur to be able to say, okay, Lisa is driven by X, Y, and Z. So when I talk to Lisa, I want to be on the same page with Lisa, and we want to talk about these things because we're all wired differently. We're all motivated for different reasons. So to be able, I think it's important as a coach, is to be able to connect with the person that you are coaching where they are and what's important to them. Because as you very well experienced, if someone's really big goal is, and I worked with a lot of people over the years that really, they wanted to get out of the house, talk to somebody bigger than 3 feet tall, and have a reason to get dressed up and go out. I'm not saying that's the case with everybody, but there were people that was their goal.
A lot more people than I thought. I
Yes.
guess is right. I guess I thought that more people were wanted to conquer the world. Like, yeah, and I had right. That took me a long time. Believe it or not, that took me a long time. Long past when we did the cards. That took me a long time to not want people to be more ambitious, I guess, because
Yeah.
I can't want it for them. That never works. I do know that you can't want it
Exactly.
for them, and I guess I didn't understand. And even still, if you listen to some of my Monday things, my big thing, my big thing that I harp about all the time, and I'll harp to you about it, is the older I get, I don't even want to say I'm 58. The older I get, right, the more I have this happen all the time is a friend of mine, their husband will die or run off or whatever they do, will do something. And this person, this friend of mine, or this person I know, will have extreme financial problems immediately because they never dreamt that they'd have to support themselves. So my big thing I harp about all the time is be able to pay your own bills, all of them. And if you have a kid, support your kid too, because I think most women are going to have to support themselves at some point in their life. That's just the odds. So that conflicts with what most people want. So, and I want it for them because I see so many bad, like this senior, this was a few years ago, but this senior, she wasn't even my age that I am now. Her husband went out doing the riding lawnmower. It rolled over on him and it killed him. And of
Yeah.
course,
Right.
they were 50s, I think. She couldn't pay her stuff right away, even though she had a pretty big business, but she never thought she'd have to do that. And I'm out there beating the drum every week going, ladies, well, and men too. I mean,
Right.
people,
Right.
you know, pay have that as a big priority, but I can't make people have it as a priority. So am I delusional or should I
No.
keep beating the drum? It's just right.
Well, it's the thing about it is, and I think, Lisa, knowing you and your story, is, probably based upon your experience and where you came from. Like you said, if you look back to, when you were working and you were a corporate person and stepping into this, at that point, I don't know that you truly understood the benefits of being where you are today back then. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right,
So,
definitely.
So along the way, you grew as an entrepreneur, and that's the thing. It's, to your point, we want it for everybody because we know what a wonderful world that can be.
Oh yes.
To be able to go, and not that I want to throw this out there like, hey, you can be an entrepreneur and not work, but to have the benefit to say, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to do this with my family that I wouldn't be able to do if I were having a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And that's the reason you do what you do all the other times, because you can have that benefit of saying, I'm my own boss. I decide my schedule. So it's important that you do that schedule in a balance, because
it's funny because my kid doesn't know any different. My kid's 15. I've done this the whole time. The kid doesn't know. And it's funny because even though the kid sees me do my job, and most people I know are entrepreneurs like me, like Mr. Greg, the handyman, is a self-employed guy. Most of my friends are self-employed guys. And still the kid said, I don't want to grow up and get a life-sucking job. And I'm like, it's up to you whether you have a life-sucking job or not. You get to decide that. I said, do you think my job is life-sucking? And the kid's like, no, but you're unusual. I don't have to be. It's you decide those things. That doesn't get forced on you. So how did I not get that? I didn't even get that message to my own kid.
and Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but were you unusual or did you become unusual?
I don't think I'm unusual now.
Well, you're unusual.
Well, I mean, nutty.
What he's referring to in your being unusual is because you chose to grow along the path of being an entrepreneur.
Right.
And so in my mind, that's what she's seeing, because you're not the person you were when you were driving that Yugo. You're not that person anymore.
No, that's true.
And so you have become the person that you are today. And that's what I think is unusual, because a lot of people do not allow themselves that benefit of growing and going from point A to point B. A lot of people, unfortunately, choose to accept where they are as where they're going to be.
No.
You did not do that. And that's what made you unusual, because you said, I don't have to be where I am. I have to be where I am today.
You're going to laugh.
Where I am tomorrow.
You know what I was saying? You're going to laugh at me on this one, but I sat there in that trailer park and I somehow convinced myself that that was a cosmic mistake. I'm like, oh, this is not where I'm supposed to be. This was a mistake. I need to work myself up to where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be in this house driving a car that's reliable, that has heat. I'm supposed to be, but I thought I convinced myself it was a cosmic mistake, that I was there by mistake.
You weren't supposed to be climbing that electric pole to turn the electric back on.
Yeah. Say, don't turn me off, please. With my cash. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
Lisa, I think that brings to my mind something else that I kind of wish I would have known earlier on. So I think it's a good time to share with everybody is there is a reason things happen. And what I wished I would have learned years before I did was you can be driving down the road. Now, don't anyone stop and write anything down. Today we have phones we can speak into and make ourselves notes. But, how many times I would be driving down the road and pass somebody's house or see something that reminded me of someone. And I just took that as oh, that was nice. I remembered that person. No, there's a reason that's happening. There's a reason you saw whatever that made you think of whoever. Don't let that pass you by. Make yourself a note on your phone, speak it in, don't
Oh,
drive.
good Lord. Do you know that's the mantra for that other company I do send out cards, promptings. They call it,
Exactly.
the guy wrote a
There's
book about it. That's promptings, except instead of just thinking about it, we send them a card.
exactly. You send them a card. There's
Yeah.
there's a reason that popped into your mind for you to send them that card. And I can tell you, Lisa, having been someone that's been blessed enough to receive some cards from you, it brightens your day. It makes a difference. So, and that's the thing. I'm a firm believer that when we do enough things for other people, it just comes back to us.
Oh,
And,
yeah. Karma in a good way.
exactly. Yeah. And, good old Zig Ziglar, that saying will never go out of style. If you help enough other people get what they want,
You get
can't
what
help
you want.
what you want.
I met him. Did you
So
know I
true.
met him? Did you know I
Yes.
met him? Oh, you
Yes.
did know.
Yes, I did know that. And I actually was fortunate enough too. I actually have my a group picture with him.
Oh, I got my page taken with him too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know he heard I was speaking at that was a DSWA thing. I didn't know he heard me speak. If I'd have known he was going to hear me speak before I spoke, I would have been able to say a word. But he was nice about it. He gave me a compliment. That was nice because I was nervous once I found that out. I was like, oh, he's such a first class speaker, and I realize I'm a
Well,
hack.
so are you, Lisa. I have never been to any presentation you've done that I've not walked away with some nuggets. So
Oh, that's nice. No, my thing is I don't like to have a canned presentation. I'm ad lib, and that's a bad no in the speaking world. But that's
well,
me. So
but that's you. Be you.
right.
And you know what? There's people that relate to you because of that. Because that's one thing you can always tell. Like, I know when I'm going into a Lisa presentation, here's some things I'm going to hear about, but I know it's going to be, fresh. Sometimes your presentations can change based upon what happened to you yesterday.
Yeah.
And that could be a good thing. So
it could be. Yeah. Hey, you know what else I learned? This is just a fun fact, by the way. I didn't realize, and you can at home, you can take this and do this now. You don't have to be single for this to be awesome. I realized that you can buy the perfect present that you always wanted, put it under your tree, and say it's from Santa. And there you go. See, I wasn't getting what I wanted for Christmas. I saw this last April, and Santa gave it to me this year. Santa is a genius. Why didn't I think of this sooner?
see, I'm telling you. Hey, when you're tuned in and have that right connection with Santa, see how much better world it can be.
Oh. This is, you know what? This is that Betsy Johnson for Disney. This is we were into Little Mermaid. It seems like everything the kid's into, I'm into. And the
Yeah.
kid had got a part in the play Little Mermaid. So I was into Little Mermaid, and this is the Little Mermaid by Betsy Johnson, but I wanted it. And I knew the only way I was getting it is Santa gave it to me. Like,
we're Little Mermaid fans here too. It's two of my granddaughters' favorites, and I now live 20 miles from Disney, so we're and I actually live on Ariel Avenue.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Oh.
we're
You should have
definitely
told me
Ariel.
that. I'll be like, hey, I'm coming.
Come on down, Lisa. Come on down.
I love Disney. Yeah. Believe it or not, we actually like Disneyland more than World. And I think it's because we usually stay right in the hotel there. And my kid now is 15. So when we were there just a year and something ago, we had to bring a friend because now everywhere we go, we have to bring a friend. And by the way, I bring a friend too.
Exactly.
I'm like, if you get a friend, I get a friend because I'm like 6. So, but once I got the magic bands for both of them and sent them on their way, they could go out and do stuff because the hotel was right in the park. And they could go, and I knew what was going on, even though I'm not sure they realized that, because the band kept telling me when they bought a soda or showed me a picture on my phone of them on a ride. So I knew what was happening and where they were, and I felt comfortable about it. And I
And
like that. It's easier.
I think that works. I think that works at Disney World now too.
Oh,
I
it
think
was just it's so much bigger.
it
And
is. Yeah.
you can't stay in a hotel where you're right inside the gate like you can at Disneyland. But I do like Disney World. We usually stay at Fort Wilderness, believe it or not, in a cabin.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Let's not think I'm going camping. A cabin where we get a golf cart rental and that kind of thing. And then we have
Yeah.
grocery delivery. Yeah, that's what we were doing. When the kids were smaller, it's because they made so much noise. I didn't want
Right.
to upset the other guy. So do you go over that much? You probably have a season pass. Either
We
that or
do.
you ignore it. Oh, you do.
No,
Oh, good.
we have annual passes.
That's nice.
It's a little bit different right now in the state of our world right now, but yeah, the nice thing about the annual pass is, you can pick up the kids after school, and my wife will take them.
Wow.
If you get there and it's too busy, you just say, yeah, you know what? I mean, it's a half an hour away, so it's like, yeah, we'll go home. We'll come back another day. So
Oh, wow.
sometimes you go and ride two rides. That was the biggest switch for us to make, is because when we used to come years ago and you came for like 7 days, literally
Yeah.
you jam packed 7 days to where
Yeah.
by the end of the week you needed a vacation to recoup. But now you really take the time and enjoy. But
See, I never did that though. My brother was like that. He's like a Disney savant. So if you went with him, you had to be there when the gates opened, and you stayed and it didn't matter who you had with you or how. See, I used to go with my infant and my mother, and I'd be like, you know what? We're just going over when we feel like it, ride a couple rides, eat some junk, buy some souvenirs, and then go take a nap. We're not doing, yeah. I won't go with my brother. He's a mess. I won't go with him. He's trying to get his money's worth, and I'm not me.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? The nice thing is, though, Lisa, is both of us can say that we were able to do those things with our families because of being where we are with entrepreneurship. Because,
absolutely.
And I know we've got a few people listening today, so I'd like to take a minute and just do an exercise if everyone will play along with me.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
Right now, if you would for me, I'd like everybody to just close your eyes. Now, think about, as you close your eyes, Lisa, you can be exempt. As you think about, close your eyes, I want you to think about the person that initially introduced you to the world of entrepreneurship. Think about whatever company you're with, whatever company, you got your start with. Many people have a person. Some people did it themselves. But if you have a person, think about that person. Now, interesting enough, I can, in my mind, see a lot of you smiling because you really think a lot of the person that introduced you to this world, because it's a wonderful world. The thing I want you to remember today is right now, this very minute, there is someone that needs you to reach out to them and offer them that same wonderful opportunity that you're experiencing today. Don't let that person down. Make sure you reach out to them and give them the same opportunity that was given to you.
Oh, that's pretty. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good, man. Wow. Yeah. Oh, so I want to hear yours. Who's yours? And I'll tell you mine. Who introduced you to be entrepreneurship?
Actually, it was a wonderful lady by the name of Diana. I just spoke with her about 3 weeks ago. We keep in touch. And actually, my wife had a party, a home party, and we were sitting down afterwards, as people did when they had a party, and went over, all the stuff. And she actually took the time to talk to us and say, here's your options. You could do this, you could do this, or you could do this and be part of the world that I'm part of. And I told her just the other day when we talked, forever grateful that she took the time to do that.
Well, that's awesome. That's all, and that's part of what she's supposed to do, right? In a party plan
Exactly.
setting,
Yep.
that's part of the
Exactly.
thing, yeah. And that's
Yep.
why, because you don't know who's going to be the right fit.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, but do you mind if I share my?
No, go ahead. I want to hear
It,
yours.
it wasn't in direct sales. When I was little,
Hmm.
the lady my mother worked for that owned the company my mother worked for, a little oil company, um, she didn't have kids and she was probably just doing this to keep us busy or whatever, but she said she needed to donate money to the church group. And she said instead of just giving the money to the church group, she was going to have a contest between me and my brother. So she gave me $20 and him $20, and whoever got the biggest increase of that 20 by the end of the summer won. And we didn't even win anything. It was, but I know. But my brother bought art supplies and decorated a little toy chest and sold it. Is what he did for his 20, and he earned quite a bit of money doing that. But I actually won because I actually bought and sold junk from yard sales and the auction. So I went with my father to the auction and bid on stuff myself and bought and sold stuff. But why it was an entrepreneurial thing is because um, this after I turned the money in that I had flipped it to get more than the 20, she said I could keep the rest of the junk. And then I sold the rest of the junk and I got to keep that money. So it was like, hey, this works. I bought it for $1, sold it for $2. I got to keep the dollar in between. So that's how I learned that. We had to been, I don't know, 10, 12, younger than that probably. So that was it. So when
That
I
was your
heard about like the company we were in, and that was the first one I did. When I heard about that, I'm thinking right away, I buy it for 2, I sell it for 4, I get to keep the other 2. I knew right away that that's what it was because of that. Well,
well,
so
and you know what? It really is about that. Yeah, the company that we work together in, Lisa, I'm sure you all have talked many times about something we used to talk about was the minimum of the power of 3, right?
oh yeah.
And I like to think about what 3 people can I help today? It's a new day. Who needs my help? Who can I help? What are those 3 people that I can reach out? Who are those 3 people that I can reach out to? Because I'm so thankful that someone reached out to me. And, all along the way, we have those stories of, I'm eternally grateful for the person that introduced me to the corporate world. And that's a person who I knew very well from our company. And her name's Debbie. She's since retired, but she actually retired #1 division manager in that company on her
Oh,
year out.
I think they've all retired now.
Yeah. Well, she retired. She retired on her terms at
Oh, that's
October.
nice.
Yeah.
That's
So it
nice.
was great to see that. But
It's funny, we don't talk about the 3 thing that as much as we should anymore. My mantra on here has been, and somebody told me this, and this has worked for me, is I can be successful at anything, whether it's fundraising or church or whatever it is, if enough people know what I do. So every day I try to get more people to know what I do. I don't necessarily I do show them the opportunity if that's what they say. I try to
Mhm.
listen to what they say, but it's just trying to get them to know what I do. Sometimes it's just they find out what I do and they don't have any interest. But if enough people know what I do, that's how this has worked for me so
Well,
far.
and Lisa, you've always been brilliant with that because I think about, even before you did the raps, when you were always prepared. You had I remember the catalog container on your window. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
you always were about, let's be honest, we know that you ran for political office only to, get your name out there and
for
people to know who
for
Lisa
20
was.
years I did that.
Exactly. But that's what it's all about. Because here's the thing people need to remember too, is like you just said, you talk to people and make sure they understand what you do. And they might not be interested. but you have no way of knowing that they're not going to talk to somebody in the next 24 hours that needs to know what you do and would never know what you do if it weren't for that connection that you made sure knows what you do. So, and that reminds me, years ago, when we brought somebody on new, we used to use this. It was just a sheet that was to help people think of people. You know, who's your hairdresser? Where do you get your tires changed? That kind of stuff. And at the top, I always had, who do you know? And do they know what you do? Because that's what it's all about. It's about making those connections and people knowing who you are and what you do. And you know, the other, it goes back to, it all ties together in the mindset and the belief. So a couple things I want to make sure that I get a chance to say, and you know, we're talking about the thing of coaching. I've always said there's a reason our Creator gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and it's really because we need to listen twice as much as we talk in order to help people. Because if we truly are tuned in and listening to people, you know, we hear nuggets from people all the time when we just stop and listen. If you just stop and listen, you will hear what they need and how you can help them. You won't have to say some of the things that you want to say because they'll basically be asking. So just remember how important listening is in this, and genuinely caring, because that's what we do. We genuinely care about helping someone do better or to better themselves or their situation. And it really is a couple things that have really stuck really close with me is how important that shift and success is tied into really your belief and your mindset, because that's really the only obstacle there is in anyone's way is their own belief and mindset. And one of the things that's been with me for many, many years is if you ever think about, you know, why some people aren't successful or whatever, it's just because they give up too soon. And they don't think about all the great things they have accomplished. And these have been around for a long time, but I literally keep these as a reminder to me because everyone, well, now I'm really showing our age, Lisa, but people have heard of Babe Ruth, right? Everyone knows Babe Ruth was very famous. And everyone knows that. But most people don't know that he struck out 1,330 times. But he also hit 715 home runs. When we think of Babe Ruth, we never think about the times he struck out. We only think about the home runs that he hit, right? And Michael Jordan, everyone knows Michael Jordan and how famous he is. But people don't know that he was cut from his high school basketball team. Talk about a coach somewhere ready to kick themselves.
Yeah, really, huh?
And my all-time favorite is that Walt Disney was let go from his job as a newspaper reporter. You know why? Because he was told that he lacked imagination.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I mean, but you know what? Those people chose to not let other people decide their destiny. And we all have to do the same thing. Never give up, no matter what it is. Tomorrow's a better day, and you can help 3 more people.
Hey, did you know in one of the early trips, this is I think before your time even, at that company we were with, San Diego trip we were on, and I earned it for personal sales. Leadership wasn't out yet, so this is prior to '93 because I started in '93. So it was one of the first trips I earned, and I was sitting in the back of the room as I would because you did it by rank, right? I was sitting way in the back, and the people on the stage were little teeny, and I felt inspired. I looked at the lady next to me and I said, "Remember me, because I'm going to be on the stage one of these days." And she said, "Honey, you ain't ever going on stage. I've never been on stage. She's never been on stage, and you ain't going on stage either. And I ran to the bathroom and cried. And I wish I remembered her name so much, because it wasn't but like 2 years later I was on stage and I would have gone, Edna!
And you know what?
Yeah.
I'm sure she knows you were on stage and had to
You
eat
think
crow
so?
that
I
day.
figured
I'm
she probably
sure.
didn't even remember I sat next to her. But
No, I think
she
those
helped
things have
me.
to work themselves out.
Yeah,
Yeah, she helped
I
you.
wish I could thank her, because she helped me. Because I sat there, cried for a minute, and then the bathroom mirror, I said, "Who is she to tell me?
Exactly.
I'm going to be who I'm going to be, and that's who that's going to be, and it's not going to be with you, Edna." But it was funny. Yeah.
Think of how many stages you've been on since that moment.
Oh,
You know,
right.
too
Well, and
many to count.
the other thing is, it was a couple years after that. I learned you have to be excited for yourself, and you can't. No one, literally, no one is going to be as excited for your accomplishment as you are. Because I thought, this is funny. Husband number two, I'm not good at that, by the way. You may know that already. But husband number two, I for some reason thought, right, when I got on stage the first time and I got the glass trophies, I somehow thought in my mind that he would be so proud of me that he'd swing me around in the air. He'd have me swing me around. And so I get off the stage, I come down, and he said, "Can we get out of here now? This is awful." And it was, no, I'm glad he did that
Right.
for a lot of reasons, but it made me realize no one, and I shouldn't expect other people to be as happy about this as I am, because I should just be proud enough in my person that that's enough. It's enough
Right.
that I did it and I made it, and yay. If they're not happy, that's up to them. I released that to my yeah, that I didn't I'm not mad that he wasn't happy about it. I kind of felt stupid that I had the expectation that he would be as excited as I am, I guess.
Well, and that reminds me, it's so true. And it reminds me, very dear friend of mine, we've worked together in 6 different companies over the years, believe it or not. And
Wow.
yeah, and we all worked together in that company that you and I worked together in. That's where
That's
I
funny.
actually met her. So, but you know, she has a famous saying that I think fits that, and that I remind myself of all the time, and that's, no matter what, don't ever let other people steal your joy.
Yeah.
And she'll say that all the time. Don't let them steal your joy.
Yeah.
And it's so true, because there are just those people out there that, you know, we call them VDPs, very draining people. And
And
we
that
don't wish
isn't the
them
reason I
harm.
left him.
Yeah.
That isn't the reason I released him to move on to another opportunity. And I started using that because of corporate used to say that, if someone left, they didn't want to say whether they jumped or got pushed. So they would say they've moved on to another opportunity. So so when I got divorced, it was odd, because I was publicly speaking and everything. I couldn't just not say anything about it. So I said, I released him to move on to another opportunity. See, that worked for me.
Works.
I mean, what are you going to do? Right? So, but
That's
anyway,
right.
oh, yeah, some things I'm good at. That isn't one of them. You know what I'm awesome at? Being single, though. I didn't realize I was so awesome at that, but I am. See the whole Santa
See,
thing. That ought to prove it right there.
exactly.
Yeah. See, it takes me a while to get going about the Santa thing, but yeah. But I've decided now that single is what I was meant for, because I love it. You know what it is? It's because
Well,
I'm a dictator. It's no democracy here. It's awesome. But I don't go crazy. That's the thing. It's not like I'm out buying stuff all the time. I worked
right.
hard for the money, so I don't do that. But to me, it's nice to be able to make a decision. I don't know, on my own.
Well, and the other thing, Lisa, that I think is really great, as I think about, as you said earlier, we've kept in touch over the years, off and on, and when I think of you, one of the things that I think is remarkable is, yes, you've been very successful. You've earned the right to be where you are. But what I think is very special is how many people you've helped over these years and how many lives you've changed. And that's because of what we do in this business. And, it's, to me, that's the great reward. Is there are people that are different because of you, Lisa. And there's people that,
I hope so. I hope so.
Anyone that's listening, there are people that need your help right now in order to have a better whatever, whether it's a better day, a better month, a better life, a better opportunity. But, we're all here to help each other. And that's what I thank you for, Lisa. All the people that you help.
Thank you. And I hope that we all help anybody, whether it's because you don't know, even from a good business point of view, you just don't know. Somebody that, like when I was doing the Lisa tour back then, do you know I've had people sign up for my business years later, like a decade later, that sat in the audience back then, and they were not in my downline, and they remembered me because I was willing to help them even though they weren't in my downline. And then when they wanted to come back years later, they sought me out. So helping everybody all the time, whether or not you get immediate something for it today, is to your benefit. It's not just the morally right thing to do. It is the morally right thing to do, but it also helps you. It's a business. It's also a good business decision, because what goes around comes around always, good and bad. So I think you're always better to help people, and not say, are you on my team? Well, if you're not on my team, call your own person. I don't do that. I try not to even ask them. I try just to help them, and then it all sorts itself out. You know what I mean?
That's because you have the philosophy that we're all on the same team. We're on this team we call life. And no matter what, we all need help. We've all had people help us over in our lifetime that didn't benefit from it. And that's the great thing. And that's what I think most about this business.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you very much. Now we're like 2 over. Sorry, 2 minutes. I try to start and end on time, but I'm not good at that person either. So, as you well know, although I don't go way over. Hey, do you remember that guy in that company that we both were in that used to notoriously for going over? His first name was Tom. He was a corporate person. Yeah, it was funny at the end when we all had cell phones, we'd all be texting each other. Oh no, why'd they put him at the end of the schedule? We'll never get out of here. Oh, those were the days, huh? Oh, anyway, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I appreciate that. And thank you for being you, because
you're welcome, Lisa.
There aren't many, this sounds bad of me, but there aren't many corporate people that I appreciate as much as I do you, because you treat me like a regular person. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And thank you for coming on here. I know you usually, this would be something that you would do for, like, you would hire to do. And all I can do is send you some brownies.
Hey, you know what? We're all here to help each other, Lisa. Anytime. I'm happy to help. And hopefully today people will take some nuggets that we talked about and really change theirs and other people's lives. So thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I'm going to stop the broadcast, but stay on for a second, because we go back to the green room after. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.